Happy New Year, everybody. It's time for a new season of a show called Jazz, Juice, and Jam. Man, a lot has happened when you keep staring at the camera. Jeez. Ain't much changed, as you can tell. But a lot has happened since last year. Last time we did this. New president. Yeah. New same opportunities, kinda. Yeah. But I mean, I'm sure we picked up some new traits, along the way. What have you been? I know you ain't been just sitting around.
No, I've been practicing, reading, napping, practicing, a little bit more reading, napping, eating, practicing, napping, and then reading, then sleep. Okay. So yeah, man, same old.
Same old.
Same old.
Yeah. Well,
what about you, bro?
I mean, I think I've been a little bit more about just a little bit, but still, it's hard to really get into much, with things just kind of being like the same right now. But just still getting used to being a dad. I been working on a new issue of the magazine I'm putting out, Jazz Culture. It's gonna have a lot of like special local guests on it, poetry. One thing that I'm really excited about, I'm not gonna tell you about it. You're gonna have to get the issue for yourself. But I'm super excited about it. It's gonna be funny. Gonna look good. It's gonna be good. If you like the peanuts, you'll like what's in store.
Are you better than? All right. Okay. All right.
Yeah. But shoot, man. Outside of that, I mean, just of course the same. Practicing.
Yeah. Sleeping.
Yeah. Just trying to mentally, stay revived. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as the show progresses. Some of the tools that we've been doing to just kind of keep us, going that we think will be useful for you all. But before we get into all of that. Yeah. I mean, it's Jazz, Juice, and Jam. So we got to talk about the juice that we drinking or play about the juice we drinking. If you all can guess in the comment section, and we'll feature you. We'll give you a shout out on the next episode.
Oh, there we go.
There it is.
Yeah.
So we hope y'all guessed the juice. It's obviously give you a hint. It's one of the fruitiest songs that we've played so far.
It's an acid fruit.
Anywho, oh man, we're not gonna make it through this show.
Nah, man, it's gonna be a long show.
Okay, well look. In that spirit, it's time for the next segment of the show. One that's one of my favorites, and we're bringing it back. This one is called "Who Would You Rather?" Stick around. Ooh. All right, so this episode of "Who Would You Rather," this is featuring bass players. We got a lot of requests to feature bass. One of the requests came over here.
Sure did.
But I think this is a good. Okay, I think this is a good cast of bass players that all three of them are great in their own right, and you can't take one from anybody. So,
no, you can't.
So
you'll change history if you change. Like if you take one away, you'll literally change history.
Like Back to the Future,
literally.
You know,
like
the
Biff.
flying car. And I was like, is his name Biff? Or is his Biff?
Biff.
Okay. So look, come on, man. All right, so we got Oscar Pettifer, Paul Chambers, and the great Charles Mingus.
They're all great.
Yeah, I mean, Mingus got a certain ring to it, but they're all great. And this is just about like who would you rather, who would you want to really just see live or play on the bandstand with? Obviously, I mean you could play. There have been some double bass things. Yeah.
Let's talk about it. I'll let you go first.
Okay. All right. So I'll go first. My choice is for a couple of different reasons. It's for feel, and it's also for he's just been on records that I've checked out with great other musicians, and obviously it's Paul Chambers. First of all, Wynn Kelly Trio, Miles Davis Quartet and Quintet, Coltrane's group. Coltrane wrote a tune for him. That's how much he was important to the jazz world. He's just like, yeah, Mr. PC. And then we have Red Garland. The list goes on. He's been with a lot of different sideman groups. And so that's the first thing. It's like whenever I'm checking out classic jazz records, he's on them. Second thing, bro, he feels great. You ain't gonna sleep listening to that thump. Especially, man, his bowing. And this is me as being a saxophone player. When I hear him start bowing, he starts singing. But man, he's killing. He has Dexter. He's a beautiful, well-rounded bass player. And I love those other guys, but for me, PC, it's sticks out. That's who I would really want to be on the bandstand with and check them out. Obviously you differ, so.
You done? You finished or you done?
I mean, it's your turn.
All right, let me tell you something. First of all, this is not fair because if you add 3 more bass players to this, that's really all I really check out. If you add 3 more, Paul Chambers is good and great. Mingus is great and awesome. But OP is the one I have to go to. Number 1, I mean, you think about the tunes, like the melodies he wrote.
They're good melodies.
They're good melodies, along with Mingus. He got some great melodies too, man. But that's not the point. The point is, man.
Want to change the answer?
Let me tell you something. This is why I chose OP. Number 1, if you're saying who would you rather be on the bandstand with, I'd rather be with the person that had the biggest influence on me.
Okay.
That's one of my idols. It's one of my heroes.
Okay.
So I would choose OP.
Okay.
Number 1, he literally revolutionized the bass.
All right.
I would say there's periods during the bass where you can clearly see like, oh wow, you changing the style, you changing the way the bass is being played.
Yeah. You
can clearly see like when he picked the cello, and he broke his arm and was playing the cello, so he can still play.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah, fun fact. So it's like, man, with the cello playing and then you add the bass playing, it's like he started like revolutionizing things, man. He's becoming like, it's so free the way he's doing things, man. So I like really enjoyed like him. I would love to be on the bandstand with him.
I mean, you don't sound that excited about it. I mean, when I was more excited talking about Paul Chambers.
Well,
he was
look,
like,
when you about to go
you
through
pulled
a sugar,
out the cello, and
I mean, bro, when you
cello.
about to go through a sugar high. I mean, this juice kicking in. Well, let me tell you something.
You always on the sugar.
I gotta mellow out real quick. But let me tell you something, man. Like, when you look at like bass players that do double bass,
okay,
Oscar Pettiford was one of those that he had Charles Mingus play.
Yeah, he definitely had some double bass.
And he had like the double bass thing where he was playing trio, and I think Jimmy Heath will play bass sometimes. It's just incredible, man. And it's like, that's, if you're talking about who would you be on the bandstand with, I would love to be on the bandstand with him. And it's not taken away from Paul or Charles.
No. Yeah,
especially Mingus, man. I would love to.
I mean, just longevity alone.
Longevity, I would just like to have a conversation with him. Just,
I mean,
what's the hang like with him?
And he's known the most for being a leader. With that, right? I mean, Mingus. I mean, some videos out there. I mean,
check him
he
out.
Just
shooting a shotgun in the house, man.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I think those are good choices.
Yeah,
those are good reason.
Hard.
And the reason why we do this is not necessarily just so you can hear who we'd rather pick, but maybe some of our viewers I know don't know who these musicians are, why we pick those people.
Especially Oscar Pettiford.
All right, so it's time. This portion of the show is where we've been checking out some albums, and we feel like it'd be cool if you all check them out with us. So this is the albums that we feel that you should check out. So,
can I go first?
Yeah, absolutely, positively. Inquiring minds want to know what is on Box Mind.
Bro, this is what's on my mind. Come with me. No, I'm joking. My album that I picked, since we haven't got to it yet, and I think you should have it somewhere, is the Kinda Blue album by Miles Davis. It is, we're just talking about Paul Chambers, and it's like, man, what's something that actually shows like Paul Chambers' skills? Kinda Blue really shows Paul Chambers' skills on the album. And you have Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Wynton Kelly.
It's a fair assessment.
Bill Evans. Yeah, you see? That's on here. And you know,
Paul Chambers.
You need Paul Chambers, yeah, the GOAT. But yeah, man. But if you're, since this is basically a bass It's a bass players episode.
Black History Bass Show.
That's it. I'm not saying nothing. But really listen to the record for what Paul Chambers is doing, because I feel like this album displays everything Paul Chambers ever did. The walking lines, the feels of the songs, even the note choices. If you listen to what the notes he's playing, it's like, oh, I didn't know you were playing that day. So check it out. Kinda Blue, Paul Chambers. It's a Miles Davis album, but really it's Paul Chambers' album.
No,
he made the record.
Look, but I just added a little bit to that. Like for me, since we're talking about Kinda Blue, right? And I think it's like it's close to the time of like the anniversary of the actual time the album was done. It's like close, so this is good to talk about it. The greatness of that album to me is how quiet it is. Like nobody talks about like most jazz albums is like really heavy swing and it's kind of like, you know, it's a lot of energy, but that album is so reserved and laid back, and it's like just as far as dynamics, it doesn't really ever get
it doesn't
like really loud at the peak. And I think that's like one of the powers of that record is that when people approach it to listen to it, they have to be like kind of focused versus like, you know, something that's just, you know, really involved and like you can clean the house when you listen to it or whatever. So
it's really good. And I think another thing too is listen to the freedom Miles Davis gives everybody. That is the most important thing. Like even with Paul Chambers, like you listen to Paul Chambers play throughout the whole record, it doesn't feel like they switching songs. It feels like a water motion. Where like you look at you can hear the lineage of the bass lines, and this is for bass players. Like you want to try to make your lines linear, and it's like you listen to this dude, you're like, dude, you can just literally isolate Paul Chambers, and you're listening to him, you're like, oh man, there's so much stuff, and it's like that's just one piece within all the other people. So it's like that freedom Miles Davis, like the trust that he has with everybody.
Yeah,
you know?
I feel that.
Because some other records, you can hear them, hey man, when the light turns red, don't play.
Hey man, look, time is money. Time is money.
That's good. Talking to Paul Chambers about that.
Hey, yeah, that's a good record, man. I'm gonna go like all the way forward and also on the other tip. So in honor of like this obviously bass show we've been kind of doing, I'm going with the local legend that we have here, the great Jamal Nichols. I'm talking about his newest record called Black Frequencies. Features Malcolm Jamal Warner on it. Many people know him as Theo from the Cosby Show, but Malcolm, it's great, and it's featuring like some local musicians as well. One of my boys, Carlos Brown Jr. is playing alto saxophone with some crazy effects. He sounds great on it. This record, man, I
tell me something.
I got on it a little bit later. You know, like I'd heard it come out, and I was like, okay, I'll get to it, and then I started checking it out, and sometimes you you get some good records that are like what I feel like are good like date records,
right?
Like when you're going somewhere, and Valentine's Day is in this month too. So I think this but it does have some serious subject matters that I think is very timely for the world that we've been kind of going through right now. And, one of the quotes from Jamal Nichols on this record is he said, you know, black is more than a code, you know. It's a frequency. Deep, I mean, he was just saying that down to there are many things that we all have in common that connect us, you know, that we've all had similar experiences. We've not been in the same household, but it's the thing, you know, that connects us. And so that's kind of what this album is kind of like sharing with the world. So my favorite track off of it is it's called Black Mother. Yeah, I think it's the fourth track on there. Black Mother. It's beautiful. Carlos Brown is on alto saxophone, and if I'm misquoted, I'll put it like in the top pop it up in the air or something, so it'll be fixed. But it's a dope record. It's Jamal Nichols, so it's gonna be grooving. While you talked about like the different tones of the bass, the one thing I like is that like he gets so many different sounds out the electric. Like it's a bass record, but you
listen to something else.
I mean, there are times when it sounds like, I don't know, a human voice even. He's like one of the masters of that. He's
bass sing now.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why he's been on tour with Gregory Porter for so long. Obviously not right now because of COVID, but he's definitely just a great voice to have in St. Louis that I'm sure is like an inspiration. I'm sure you've checked out. Checked out a lot of stuff.
Definitely check out his album, man. It's the way he produced it and orchestrated. You can press play and actually listen to the whole thing.
Okay.
And then I like records like that.
Yeah.
The way it's produced, the way
it
flows all the way through. Really good. And it's like, man, the way he plays that electric on there, man, I'm like, that's a bad dude, man. So, yeah.
So those are the albums. We hope y'all, get a chance to check them out. Obviously, especially during times like this, it's like there's a lot of free time, so you actually, have times to dig deep into some records.
Support the artists too.
That's it. I mean, I know it's, I know you can go on different, streaming things like Spotify, but it's good to buy them. Buy some of the records because it does a lot of times go straight to the artist, and we all need a little help right now. That's a good.
That's it, man.
All right, so with that being said, it's time to get into some current events. We'll see y'all in a minute. All right, so in our current events today, I'm very happy about this one. I get to feature somebody that's, he's not local, but I've met him a whole bunch of times. He's one of my peers too, and he's doing great work, especially like the narrative for these last couple of shows, these last couple of episodes has been the pandemic. What are you going to do to kind of to get through it? And so the cat I'm talking about right now is a saxophonist, composer Adam Larson. He has been just like taking like the jazz vocabulary education scene by storm. He's a wonderful educator. Teaches in the Kansas City area, I believe at UMKC. And he just put out a new book. It's called Little Leaps of Sound. His book called Leaps of Sound did really, really well. A lot of great cats checked it out. There's been videos all over social media of New York cats playing it, but this one, Little Leaps of Sound, is one that I'm definitely really digging because it's 12 etudes over the basic standards that we all know. All the things you are. Blue Boss is one of
Lady
them.
Bird.
Lady Bird, what's it called? Miss Bird on there or something?
Miss Bird.
Yeah, so it's a chance that I feel like can appeal to a lot of maybe students that aren't, really versed in the language yet, and they can just hear some things, and he demonstrates a lot of it in his playing. I mean, I think it's important. It's important to not only, check out classical etudes, but there's jazz language now, and when you check those things out, it's been helpful for me. I'm sure all of us have checked out the Charlie Parker Omni book, Yeah, it's but I do want to be an advocate of there are great guys putting great works out now. That's really important, and I'm a fan of it.
He breaks it down too.
Yeah. And shoot, I mean, you're gonna catch me playing some of it. So the book is called Leaps of Sound. You can get it at adamlarsonjazz.com. I have it down in the description where you can get it. It's a great book. It's for all instruments. It's E flat, C version, B flat, anything, And not only that, there are way more books there. So if you haven't gotten enough of Adam, he's a terrific player. Terrific guy. Definitely it's on the lookout. So that's something current happening.
That's it, man.
Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
All right, so we've talked about the current events. I think we need to get into the main event of our conversation today.
Let's go.
Let's do it. So, it's time for the controversies, kinda. Okay, so to clarify a little bit, this segment isn't really about controversial topic, but it's more or less about like preparing and actually surviving through the pandemic. So
I like that.
This is our top 5 survival guide for surviving the pandemic as a musician.
Man, that was good, man.
Yeah.
I can tell you play jazz.
Yeah, improv. That's what we do over here.
That's what we do.
Yeah. So, and all these may not go in a specific order, but I'll go first. And these are just 5 things that we've done that we found that kind of help keep us, because as a musician, I know, like, or just anybody out. You don't even have to be a musician, but specifically, it's like right now your way of making money is different.
Yeah.
You probably have to figure out different means. You probably have to do different things. And then even when it comes to just playing an instrument, sometimes it's just hard to be inspired when you literally do the same thing every day. I mean, and it seems like you're working towards nothing. So, we'll do this. I'll take one and then you'll take one, and we'll trade it out. We'll work together. Yeah.
A democracy.
Okay. So the first one I'm going to list is one I think is probably most important for me, is communication. Mm-hmm. Communicating with other musicians, communicating with family. I think it's important to just talk to people sometimes. Get a little bit outside of the practice room, whatever you're doing, and just see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because that can get you inspired. Whether it's somebody going through reading a book or something, it may inspire you. Oh man, I want to write a tune to that, or just seeing what another musician is checking out. Like, man, what are you checking out, man? Kinda Blue, Paul Chambers. Oh man, I never really listened to the bass, so now I'm gonna listen to the those little things we're meant to be, to communicate with other people. Those things, creatures. Yeah, that's right. Keep us revitalized and in different ways, and not just on a social media tip. Sometimes just talking to people can go a long way, right? Yeah. All right. So what's next, bro?
Mine was, this is my favorite, changing daily routines. So the one thing, people follow me on social media. I have problems. I like to have fun too much, but like the beginning of this pandemic, for like the first 3-4 months, man. It was like, so what do we do?
I know.
And then it came down to, well, I'll go and chop a tree down. Because usually, doing yard work, chopping trees, go practice.
We'll have pictures.
If you put them up, we're going to fight. Changing, like, your sleep. Sometimes, like, I take naps during the day. Changing your nap schedule. Like, I'm not going to nap at 12. I'm going to read a book at 12 and then nap at 2. So changing that routines really helps, because it gets you excited for like, oh, I know what I'm going to do today.
Yeah.
It's something to look forward to.
Yeah, you got to switch it up. You definitely have to, like if you practice on scales first, don't do scales first. Mm-hmm. Just little things. Okay, moving on. This is another one of my favorites. So it's kind of working out, because like these are all kind of been like good. This is one of the most important ones for me, is set goals for yourself for after the pandemic, because nothing lasts forever. Like right now there is no work, but eventually there's going to be work.
When there's work,
and you got to ask yourself, okay, well, what's going to happen when things open back up? What are you going to bring that's going to make your job as a musician a little bit easier? What have you really been doing during this time to kind of prepare you? I know, speaking of myself, I've really been trying to up my
shirts.
No, I wrote the word shirt last year. Okay, Mr. Black Cat, black shirt, black everything for Black History Month. Okay. Anyway, I've been trying to up my technology game. You know, getting better with learning how to record myself, learning how to send off music, emails, all of that stuff. Just trying to get a little bit better because that is like that's here to stay. This technology using Zoom and that stuff is here to stay. And eventually, you know, you don't want to be left behind and not being able to be included in certain endeavors because you're not prepared. And I mean, and this goes on way beyond just technology, but just having your view that this is going to end. What skills have I taken with me through this time that I'm gonna be like, okay, that time we had where we weren't playing, I have this thing, you know. So, all right.
And I think that leads into picking up new skills, not just setting the goals, but when you're setting goals, you write everything down.
Yeah.
But then in order for you to get to those goals, sometimes you got to pick up a new skill. So like you said, technology, you're actually studying, reading the books, reading up the latest things, the newest things. Like I'm about to get into coding because it's just there.
It's like, important. Create your own apps. Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. And even like going back to like woodwork. I know you're working on your stuff. I'm working on building a desk. Working on building a traveling case for my base. Working on, different skills that you can actually harness. Like even taking care of your car. I know a lot of people don't really think about their car. No, but even like sitting there, like, oh man, tires. What I gotta do with the tires? You can do some things by yourself without even paying people, and I think that's the world we're gonna start stepping into. Is you have all these skills.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to worry about paying people to do something that you can do. You don't have to worry about like, oh man, the dude didn't do it right. Now I gotta go somewhere else.
Yeah.
So picking up new skills, man. Very important.
Yeah, and it's always great learning something new.
I know, man.
You know, I'm with that. Okay, and so that leads us to our number 5 survival thing, which is, I think, very essential. It's been essential for me. I know it's been essential for you, but
take my nap.
Yeah, it is just simply taking a break sometimes. You know, sometimes the best thing that anybody can actually do is just be like, I'm going to get back to that. You know, I'm going to get back to that. You know, it's because it's just needed. Everybody needs a little bit of a restart or reset. I mean, you know, one of the things that we've been knowing is that being in quarantine and stuff has been great for the atmosphere. You know, because that has needed a break from us. You know, and so sometimes when you're a musician and you're working on something, you know, the more you practice something, the worse it can sound. I know this from strong experience, but sometimes when you step away from it, come back to it, it sounds good. I'll never forget when we were doing the record.
Oh yeah.
And we kept trying to do this one song off the record. We did, I remember 7 takes and it wasn't right. And I said, okay, we're gonna play something else, and went back to it right after we played the ballad.
Which was one take.
We did the ballad in one take. It was like when we went back to the other tune, one take, it was perfect. Yeah. It was just, sometimes you just have to just step away, you know, decompress, read a book, like you said, you know, just do something, communicate, like, you know, take some time and see, doesn't it come back a little bit fresher, you know? Right. There's a quote that Charlie Parker has, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, music has to be your life and experiences. If you don't live it, it won't come out the horn. Well, you gotta live. To have some type of experiences, right? So that's our top 5 survival guide. All right, so I'm very excited to have a special guest.
Yeah.
It's going to keep up with our bass theme for today. We have the great bassist Barry Stephenson joining us for an interview, and you're actually in this interview.
Yeah, I actually am, surprisingly. First and only.
First and only, I know, right? You know, I'm going to talk about the cat running in your screen. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Alright, bro. Okay.
But I want to thank Barry so much for doing this. I mean, he's an accomplished young bass player who has been played with just about anybody, and has a great record called The Iconoclast, in his own right, as a leader. And I mean, you know, the cover art for the album, we talked about that a little bit. It's like, it's definitely making a bold statement. So you all stay tuned for the interview.
I'm trust. I'm hip, man. I'm hip.
Because
I'm hip.
EST, I'm like,
Yeah, Montez Coleman and all them cats from out there, you know.
Yeah, that's where we
Miles, the whole vibe, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's why I went to school and, you know, got a chance to see those guys and hear those stories my whole life. So yeah, but it's good, man. Barry, I really want to thank you for taking out the time to doing this and everything. I know, like me, you're a dad too, so just getting the time to make it is like, I know it's like crazy, but I want to get started a little bit. I got the recording going, but I want to let at least
everything cool, the sound and everything.
Sounds real good. I want to let people know a little bit about you if they don't know. I don't know, they under a rock or something, but like,
oh man,
but I mean, man, for you to be, you know, like fairly young, you have like accomplished quite a bit in your career. I mean, playing with I'm just not gonna do the whole thing. They need, you know, they can check out the discography, the biography, but played with John Baptiste, Jameson Ross, with Jasmine Horn. That's how I knew you when you came to St. Louis playing with Jasmine. Man, some great awards. The ASCAP Lewis Armstrong Award, which is like a big deal, and then an award for composing. Man, you know, it's like, and you ain't done yet. You know,
Iconoclast. Man, I'm just getting started, man. Just getting started.
You know, it's like first of all, I mean, like, man, it's a blessing to see like young musicians that's still like trying to push the music forward and trying to like have something to say. Usually when it's like so easy to be caught up in tradition and try to sound like, you know, Paul Chambers or anybody else, you know, it's like, you're like, yeah, I've studied that, but I got, you know, my own take and my own saying, you know, I want to have on that. So yeah, man, it's I look forward to, you know, checking out more stuff that you do. And we're going to talk about your newest album that you got released called The Iconoclast, which is kind of gutsy. I mean, when I saw the cover, I was like, okay, you know, when you do that, you saying something.
I love that.
The crowd, I was like, hey, if you're gonna make a statement, you know, don't ease it.
Yo, it made you think like, all right, let me hear it then.
Yeah, right. All right, let's go.
And that's the point. Like, you know, it's supposed to catch your eye. So you like, word? Oh, you going like that? All right, let me see what you about then. Let's go.
Yeah,
but it's funny you mentioned three artists that actually I've played in St. Louis the most with, Jameson Ross, John Baptiste, and Jasmine Horn. Like, so a lot of my experience just even being in St. Louis has been just being in town for that, hanging out with cats like Bernard and Bernard Long, and, you know, seeing the scene and of course eating the food, you know, like the whole nine, you know. You know, but yeah, man.
And I mean, I want to say before we get started, usually it's just me and another person, so I'm very glad to have my brother Bernard, BT, on the other side. You want to say something, bro? Because you're looking crazy right now.
Hey, bro, you know, I'm in the country. Hey, I would just want to say, man, it's good to have Barry on here, man. It's gonna be really good to talk to him, man.
Yeah, I mean,
he has a lot of gems.
Look, Barry, I'm gonna tell you something. Me and Bernard have been friends for a while, and our friendship was in question if I didn't have you on this. I'm not even kidding, man. He's like, Kendrick, you gonna get Barry? When you gonna get Barry? You gotta.
Hey man, I appreciate you, Bernard. BT, he come through, man. That's my man.
Okay,
he come through, man. He come through.
Okay, so let's talk about it a little bit. Let's talk about the album, and we'll go on to more stuff like what you're doing right now and how you're getting in the pandemic, all that. But at least talk the iconoclast, and I have the definition pulled up where it's a person who attacks cherished beliefs or institution, a destroyer of images used in religious worship. Okay, which is like a whole, saying in itself. It's a whole thesis,
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and in a more literal sense, the definition of an iconoclast is a breaker of idols, right? So an idol can be any kind of emblem. Like now we got Nike is an idol. You know what I mean? Like it's a sign. When you see it, you know what it. You know what I'm saying? It represents a thing. So in its most modern sense, an iconoclast is just a rugged individual. You know what I mean? Like somebody who kind of goes against the grain and says, I understand that people believe this is happening, but this is another way of approaching this kind of thing, and it's also valid, Yeah. And then on one end, it was speaking, to our culture and our community. It was just attacking the beliefs of what Black artists should be kind of, releasing musically, and also what who we're supposed to be in terms of how we present ourselves, because we're not a monolith,
That's right.
But for years they've made it so that we appear to be that. We've even started to believe it, you know what I mean? So
you gotta be those
if you see I'm 33, I'll be 34 in April, but most people our age, and this is, of course, I love everything everyone's doing, this is not knocking nothing, but they expect us to either be playing straight ahead, like you said, oh, I studied this and went to college and I'm tipping like this, or you're playing modern straight eighth or groove based kind of R&B hip hop, and that's what they expect. So I was like, I mean, there's such a creative force of musicians on the scene right now doing so much interesting stuff, and I was like, man, I gotta share my viewpoint of how I view the music and how I perceive it, you know what I mean? And that was kind of that thing, but also at the same time, presenting just ourselves and who we are and our experiences and our shared, similarities, but obviously relating that we have so many different variants just in our own families, you know what I mean? Regardless of our friend circles, Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, that was one of the things I was going to say. It's just one of the reasons why I like the album so much is that it appeals to kind of what I try to listen to is I love albums that it's almost like a Thanksgiving plate or something. You got a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit, and so the album, man, for me, it just it went from, okay, we swinging over here, but then we got some groove things, then we got maybe free kind of, it kind of touched so many points. And for me, I love that in the album because it makes you keep going back to listen to it. It's sometimes you'll check out an album and the very first tune, it's okay, I get it, straight ahead. Then the next tune is the same thing, just in a different key, and it kind of goes on like that. But man, I mean, even from the first tune, it seems like that the but I got it right here. Fitz. I don't even want to mispronounce it. But
Fitzfiggity Foom Foom.
It seems like a spoof of a blues. Like the way you wrote the harmony and stuff, it was almost making fun of. Yeah, we could play this. We're gonna swing a little bit, but I like the humor that the whole album. And I think I remember Bradford Marcellus saying that it's you gotta have music has to have the humor in it as well as the serious vibe. But it's
of course,
I could tell you weren't there are plenty of times in the album that I start laughing. I'm like, oh, okay, he just messing around.
No, it's there's, I feel humor is in just kind of characters, the kind of thing you want to hear in music. You hear, when you listen to Monk, you hear his humor. When you listen to Joe Henderson, you hear the humor and the stuff they're doing. It's a wit, you know what I mean? Fitzfiggity Foom Foom, the inspiration for the title, my middle name is Fitzgerald, but some bandmates thought it was funny to call me Fitz, and I was like, I actually don't. That doesn't. I'm cool with that. So like, and when I was in undergrad, and even still to this day, like most bass players sing while they play. And some cats in undergrad used to make fun of me, and I think they called me Fifi. Dave Stewart, this cat. If you listen to Dave. Dave is the saxophonist for Al Green and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
They used to call me Fifi, apparently. I didn't know this until like years later. And so like, he's like, yeah, because you always just go, foom, 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 foom. So he's like, so Fitz, figgity, foom, foom. And like, speaking of Jasmine Horn, she pointed out one day to me that like every time I get to a new city while we're on tour, when touring was a thing, Yeah, right. When I get to a new bass, I always would play piggity don don don. Like that's a thing. Like I figured if it works on this bass, then I can get to some something on this gig on this instrument, So it was kind of like so when I wrote the tune, like I had like all of this in mind. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna write my personality. Like it's more of like, this is just how I can see we can play the blues, because like to me the blues is honestly like it's the litmus test, you know what I mean? It's always going to be around, especially if you're connected to the source. Like it's a part of you. It's our ancestry. It's like our heritage. Like we got to be connected to that source,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I just, and the blues also, it offers us a way to like experiment with the music on such a different kind of level, you know what I mean? Like it's such commonplace to us where we're able to like try new things. And so I just kind of wanted to offer my take on one way of playing the blues.
Yeah. And there's so many like shades I know to it. But no, you wanna add to that? Anything you wanna?
Yeah, I can add to that. I think one of my favorite things about this album, man, is like watching the Instagram promo for it. Like when you talk about like you let guys have free control over how they're gonna solo, how they're gonna do this. I really enjoy that, man. Like, especially like as a band leader and watching things, man, it's like one of the most important things I've learned, especially listening. The Baron, a Rebel, and a Priest. Like hearing the saxophones go at one time, and then you'll come back in, and then it's going back and forth, and now it's like avant-garde, man. It's beautiful, man. I really enjoyed that.
I appreciate you, man.
Really enjoyed that.
With that one, it was we were really trying to. I just had this idea of playing this tune, and like at one point, like Nicholas Payton, the producer, he said like. He's like, they should solo together. A lot of it's funny he mentioned Branford, Kendrick mentioned Branford Marsalis, like the record Trio GP, the Dark Keys, all that stuff that, like I went to Florida State, so there's a huge, where Marcus Roberts teaches. So like there's a huge like Wintonian era kind of presence there. So a lot of that music has definitely been absorbed. And even in the way, it's like some of the harmony, like the close harmonies on that is like something, when kind of slyly, it's just like, you slightly got to put it in there because, he's a bad mother, you got to give it to the man,
Yeah.
So, it's just stuff that you absorb, through the years. And like, I wanted it to be open, but I also wanted it to be like we were playing form, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Especially in that tune, like the form was always going. Like we were just taking liberties where we could,
Yeah, man. It was just great to hear that, man, because it's so refreshing sometimes to like. I think the one thing, like you said, like we get in this box, and then it's like you can't get out the box. You know what I'm saying? It's like you always got to conform to the box, and it's like this is one of the most refreshing albums, and that's how I was like. Ken, we gotta get him on here.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, man. Man. The boxes. We're only in the boxes if we allow ourselves to be in there. You know what I mean? That's how I say that.
That's it. Yeah, man. I mean, there's so many like different flavors. So I have like two big favorites. Like right. I mean, for a minute, because I'm a saxophone player, we're gonna talk about Patrick Bartley, man. That dude is ridiculous. Like just the ridiculous saxophone player. And I mean, I hope I'm pronouncing this instrument right. The Hulusi.
Yeah.
Hulusi. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, man, on the third tune, you know, Redoshi Root, it's like, that's like one of the things I was talking about. It's like you have so many different flavors. Like you know, like the album opens up with, you know, like I said, this kind of spoof on blues, and then all of a sudden it's like turned into like this ethereal, you know, worldly vibe. I mean, it's beautiful, man. Like it's like, and then let me even say this. Another reason why I love it is that it's pianoless, like, which totally frees it up in a whole nother way. And so many people think like, you know, sometimes if you don't have a piano, you can't really. It automatically leads to more like avant-garde and less tonality and stuff like that. And I think that's totally, you know, dismissive and untrue, and it's been done. But like, I love how like tastefully you use that color of not having a piano. You know, you didn't try to make it, you know, play so much that you don't miss it, but you're like, no, we got this space. We're just gonna do some different things with it, you know.
Yeah,
it's beautiful. And you know, that tune, that particular color with the Hulisi and just the space that you guys play with, it's real slow and even. It's like a slow burn, but it's beautiful.
Yeah, man. I mean, to be honest with you, that one, I have this kind of like a, you know, an ethos about recording where I always try and get like some, like these moments like of just us playing like with no preconceived notion whatsoever of what we're about to do.
Okay.
So, you know, that one honestly was one of those moments where I was like, hey, just start playing. And like we started playing, like, and that's what you heard, like. And after we finished that, we just said, okay, next song.
Okay, yeah.
You know,
like, that's how you know it's good. I mean, it's like, it's the one I kept going back to a lot, man, just because.
Thank you.
It's you know, the cliche, it's a vibe, but it's like a good one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Thank you. Yeah, and crazy enough, Redoshi was actually you know, there's a myth that this gentleman was the last enslaved person brought from Africa, but it actually was this woman, Redoshi, who she lived through, you know, she was brought here 5 years before the end of the Civil War. And she was sold as like a child bride, right? At like 9 years old. And she lived through the Great Depression and stock market crash into the like mid 30s, like, and then she passed away. But like, just to think like so when I thought about that story, I was like, all right, like that's her path. Like, you know, I can only imagine what she went through, you know what I mean? Like,
and in so many ways, I mean, you could have tried to write a tune with form to that, but I think the lack of it, or just where you're just like, guys, we're just gonna play. That's how life is. You know, you can try to prepare for it, and I put all these things together, and you know that the saying is that if you ever want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. That's, you know, it's like life happens and it takes you in a whole different direction. So yeah, I love that. Bernard, did you want to add to that, bro?
I'm gonna add to this. I would say, like, the most, like, first of all, I'm going to transcribe some of the stuff on the album. I've been transcribing some things. So I'm like, man, that technique you were doing, I was like, hold on, bro.
Man, I wasn't doing nothing, bro. You tripping, bro.
Like, man, hold on, bro. What you doing? But, man, I think one of the best things, man, like, when you talk about being an independent, right? And I always, like, I know a lot of cats, you know, they always go, should you be independent? Should you get signed? Should you do different things? But like being an independent artist and hearing you talking about you funded this album, this is something that came from the heart, man. It's just something beautiful, man. You can't, like, that's the one thing I think a lot of people take for granted about albums, because a lot of people don't do albums no more. They do EPs or singles.
Yeah.
And songs only last 2, maybe a minute and a half, but like, man, this was something very beautiful, man. I was just like, I just want to congratulate you, man. Yeah. When I see you, I'm gonna shake your hand, because it's one of those things where, like, bro. Independent wise, man, it's something like, I hope everybody checks this out. because independent wise is probably one of the best sounding independent albums I ever heard.
Oh man, I mean, I put a lot of effort into it, man. If they want to check it out, you know, it's on Bandcamp for purchase, and it's also, you know, you can go to Bandcamp, Barry Stephenson. It's also, you know, you can stream it. I suggest you buy it on Bandcamp and then stream it on Spotify. But also save a play, like, no. So the new strategy, right? You actually, and sorry if I'm clipping out there.
No, you're okay.
You know, support the artist in the most, you know, equitable way is you get it on Bandcamp, the money goes directly to them. And then to game the system, you stream it on Spotify, so they're still getting streaming rates for every time you play it. And when you save it as a playlist, it shows up more in the algorithm for other people because it generates interest. So I highly recommend everyone save it as a playlist and stream it on Spotify after buying it on Bandcamp, if you wouldn't mind. But man, you know, it's I put a lot of effort into the record, and releasing it as an independent artist was is out of necessity. Like, you know, I think everyone has to each their own. You know, if I had a label deal and it worked out and made sense, I would do that, but that wasn't the case for me. So and at that point I'd already recorded the record. Like, what was I, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what were they gonna do for me at that point? So you know, it's just trying to get the music out, and, you know, if something comes along, the next one, a label wants to get behind it, then I'm cool. You know, I can see, you know, we can talk, but I'm not, I just feel like that route is, we obviously know it's dying, so why are we gonna try and like prop it up any longer?
On the last,
like we know it's going the way with Buffalo. We know it's messed up. Like, why are we still there? You know?
Yeah,
but
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you know, and there are certain aspects, like, of when you do it by yourself and you are in total control, you kind of don't have anybody, I don't know, kind of over your shoulder, or this pressure, I gotta, you know, make this statement, you know, you can just make an album about you. And like, one of the things is like, I don't, you know, just knowing you from afar, I mean, like I said, you know, met in St. Louis and, you know, seeing some things, but the album kind of helped me to just understand you a little bit better. Cause like my favorite tune off the whole track is Evening Breezy. I think I even hit you up on Facebook. It was like,
people love that one.
Bro, but I mean, you know, you were born in Florida, you know, raised in Florida, that's right. And so it's like, I was like, oh, okay. That's,
you dig right near the beach, man.
Like, you get it. And then like you even hear like the horns doing like the real like subtone.
That's the name for that, subtone. Thank you. I told him in the studio, I was like, yeah, like, so everyone on the record is from Florida. Jameson Ross is from Jacksonville. Patrick is from Broward County, where I'm from, Fort Lauderdale area. And Ricardo Pascal, the tenor saxophonist on the record, is from Kissimmee, Florida, which is right outside of Orlando.
Oh, wow.
And Jameson and Ricardo and I all went to Florida State together, and then all lived in New Orleans. They're still there, but we all lived there at the same time. They're also on my first record, Basic Truths, which is also on Bandcamp and Spotify and all that stuff. Get the same one. That's a completely different thing. That's like a record, like, you know, I got strings on that record, vocalists, you know, large horn ensemble. Like, that was, you know, first record, you're ambitious and you're doing, you know, you're trying to get the whole thing out, and you learn, you know, like one concept at a time, young buck, one concept. So, you know, for this one, I try to, you know, sequence music in a way to create like a cinematic experience while you're listening to it. Like, it takes you places, and like you have like peaks and valleys and like different like moods and stuff. And Evening Breezy was, like you said, it's just about like being kind of like Memorial Day cookout at the beach, you know, somebody playing like Maze, you know, featuring Frankie Beverly, like, you know, it's just, and then in Florida, what happens is for 15 minutes, it'll just start raining out of nowhere.
Right.
And then it'll be sunny again, like nothing. So like, you're not going to pick up all the stuff you just sat there all day and like figured out how to like set up and got comfortable. So you just wait it out. That's the storm in the middle, and then like it's back.
And it goes back to
Evening Breezy. You did.
Yeah, that's, and you get that vibe, man. That makes a lot of sense now.
And ironically enough, it's a contrafacto in September in the rain. So like just with pedals, like, you know, like, so when we came in with the vibe, I told that funny enough was the hardest tune to record. I thought it was gonna be easier, but to get the vibe on it right, it was the hardest tune to record. Or no, on the record, hardest one. That probably has the most takes. We actually came back the next day and did it like that kind of hard.
Wow.
It's crazy how that works. But the subtone thing, I was like, I want you to make sounds like, you know, the wind, like you're at the beach and it's just like, you know, dawn and you just hear breeze, you know?
Yeah.
It's a very Florida kind of thing.
Yeah, no, man. Go ahead,
Let me find out you Geechee, man.
Ah,
Let me find out. Gonna get some blue crabs.
That's
man.
Bernard
Next time I
folks
see
for
you.
real. Don't get them
bro,
started.
man, you should definitely go down and get some seafood. That's where you want to.
Hey, look, let me tell you something. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, get that while you're down there, man. Shoot, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, man, it's so funny, man. It's like the more we talk, the more we connect, because it's like during the summer times and a lot during my lifetime, my dad was in the military. We used to go down to Savannah and then go down to Orlando or Jacksonville to visit family.
Mm-hmm.
So like the whole Florida vibe, I was like, man, yeah, this is so like, this makes sense. It's like, and that's why like I appreciate like albums with a different concept, and it's like it's even deeper because now you're talking about not just the history of our people, but now you're talking about your childhood and where you grew up and how you can experience that and put that in an album, man. That's
Yeah, and just shared experience, you know what I'm saying? Like, we can all relate to those kind of scenarios, whether they're in the backyard of St. Louis, like, you know, cookout, whatever, just, you know what it is, family functions, like,
that's
folk
it.
hanging, like, it's a vibe, you know what I mean? And that's the kind of stuff, like, it's nostalgic, but it's also the present, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because, like, we're still even though we're having those gatherings differently now, like, they're still taking place, you know? But man, did you want to play something from the record? I don't know if you got it queued up there.
I mean, the only
play him a snippet, just a snippet. Just give him, just give him a snippet.
You can do that. You can do that. Edit.
Well, you know what? Hold on. You know what? That's what I'll do, because usually I have the music playing in the background. So like, I'll have like a little bit of it.
Oh, vibe.
Playing in the background. Say,
do your thing. Say no more.
So yeah, so if
Say
y'all
no
enjoying this, you're hearing the music you're hearing in the background. This is none other than Barry Stephenson. So yeah, and we got permission. So YouTube, don't.
Yes, indeed.
But well, I mean, look, man, you're talking about, I mean, getting together in barbecues. I mean, I know a lot of that is not happening now.
No,
you know,
well, it depends on where you are. In my home state, cats are cutting up and doing it anyway. But.
Come on, bro.
That's true.
I know y'all, man. You know, it's crazy. I was in St. Louis right before this whole thing like went down. Like, bro, I was at Jazz Bistro.
Yeah.
And like with Etienne Charles, another Florida State homeboy, and we were. It's funny, my homeboy Arvel, like Nakunda, drummer in Miami, right? And so we were there, and I remember Joe Biden had a rally in front of the arch right across the street from our hotel. I'm sitting there looking like, dang, this is close. Like, I could go to this if I wanted to. I don't want
You
to.
don't want to? No, I was gonna
like,
say.
I didn't want to be all right because COVID was happening. Like, it was coming, and then like, funny enough, like the second to last day I was there, it got to St. Louis, and it was like, what?
Yep.
So,
it's like everybody was just kind of figuring out, like, is it gonna hit? Like, you know, it's. I mean, that's kind of crazy, man, because like it's really been like, I feel like the musicians have kind of gotten hit like some of like the hardest with this, just
Definitely.
because of, I mean, the way that we typically make our living, and then the way that we really interact with people, and so to be kind of like put in positions where you don't interact, like when you play for an audience list, you know, when you're doing a concert and it's like nobody's there, or just like a couple people, it's like, it's weird, you know?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are suffering right now. I mean, same people out there in the trenches with us, the bartenders, the, you know, waiters and waitresses, like the food industry people who, you know, in addition to music, they sell dinner, and that's how those clubs stay open, you know, and allow us to do what we're doing. So like the entire industry is hurting, you know, the theater people can't do it. They're looking at 2022. It's like, man, what's going to happen with Broadway and just theater around the globe afterwards, you know? All sorts of things are being affected, man. It's crazy. Like, we're in an interesting time, and that's why, you know, I wanted to release a record sooner, but you know, COVID happened, and pandemic, and so I was like, dang, this is not the time to be releasing music. And then as we settled into it, it kind of made more sense. I was like, okay,
absolutely, that's when you
especially with everything that was going on, I was like, this is the time to release this record, not a moment later. You know what I mean?
Need that.
And I'm just happy people, I'm just happy people listen to it, man. And I've been getting really positive feedback, and so that's honestly all I care about. Like, people are checking it out. I'm still going to be trying to push and get more ears on it. So, you know, tell your friends, share it, you know, do the whole thing. Yeah. Tell your mama about it. See, you know, tell your enemies, people you think might hate this music, give it to them too.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Look, you know, I definitely am going to let my mom know. But I mean, she's been like hearing records for days, and so for years, you know, I just got it playing around the house, and so she's like pretty fluid with like a lot of jazz cats. She loves Kenny Garrett, so if I put this on, she'll be like, oh, I liked it. Like, she'll know like in probably 2 minutes, and she really likes it. I was just like, oh, okay, it's okay. So I'll let you know what she said. I'm sure she.
So please tell me what moms would say. That's actually the opinion that matters to me. Let me be real. Like, mama ain't gonna lie to you. She gonna tell you what you think. She's like, I don't like this. Like, she's like, or did she get it? It was all right. Like, you know, it's cool. Not my cup of tea, but all right. So keep it on, young blood.
Yeah, that's it. So Barry, what are you doing? What are you doing like during this time to kind of keep yourself motivated, inspired, musically, and then just what I'm finding out is just personally, like really like just dealing with kind of doing the same thing every day, which is nothing.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, there's a lot of things, man. Like, first off, like, I have, you know, my family, like, that keeps me inspired and motivated. Like, I do it for them, and like, I have to keep doing it, and I have to be like on top of my game because it affects them, you know. Yeah. Meditation, like, I've been checking out this series recently called by Headspace called Guide to Meditation. It's on Netflix. I enjoy it. It's accessible, like, which is kind of funny enough. A theme of the record was I wanted to play like free but be accessible to the average listener, like not having it drawn out to where you're like, all right, okay, cool, you done beat me over the head with this free thing for like 8 minutes now, like, okay. And you done listening to the record, like, you don't want to go, you skip, like, so I was like, nah, I'm gonna beat you over the head, but it's only gonna be for a couple of minutes, and then you'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Palate cleanser, you know. Mm-hmm. But you know, always listening to music, writing music, trying to sharpen my tools, you know, working on production, just getting better with Logic and doing that whole thing. You know, reaching out to friends, you know, talk to people, you know, you've been meaning to call them in the back of your mind, but you just like, always, I'll call those people, you know. But and also, thankfully enough, I've been able to still continue lessons with Ron Carter during the pandemic, like, since everything shut down in New York in March. So he switched over to Zoom, and that's been keeping me like on top of stuff, because, like, you know, he doesn't take no shit. So I've heard, you know, he will tell you about yourself in the most loving way possible, but you will feel like a piece of shit if you didn't practice. So it's kind of you get on it, you know what I mean? There's no getting anything by Ron Carter. Let's just say that.
I mean, he's played with everybody almost.
There's no getting anything by him, I promise you.
Like, I just discovered this thing. Bernard knew about it, I didn't know, but he did this show with Elvin Jones and McCoy and Freddie Hubbard. Was that it? Like, Superstar? Yeah. You know, I was like, oh, that's Ron Carter. And it was, I mean, you know.
Yeah, Ron played with everybody. Ron played with everybody. Like, I did, I'm doing this, another thing I'm doing right now is I decided to do like this 100 baseline, like, just like challenge to myself to like, I was like, you know what, I need to put up stuff that's interesting to me. And I was like, let me, and it's serving multiple purposes, but it was like, let me just play like the quintessential bass lines I love. Like, let me just play them. You know what I mean? Like, feel good, put some positivity out there, you know what I'm saying? And some messaging, you know what I mean? Getting it all in. But so that's been keeping me busy. And you know, just checking out what my peers are doing, how they're doing things, how they're adapting, you know, trying to support them. You know, I'm also doing this thing called Ampled, which I've been speaking about in terms of being an independent artist on my social media, which is like a cooperative version of Patreon. So it's where Patreon's owned by VCs, venture capitalists, and all these, you know, corporations who are stockholders who are just trying to cash in, and none of that money is going towards the artists. Ampled is a way where the artists and the workers actually sit on the board, and when the company goes in the black, the artists recoup, like they get paid out for it. So after you have a certain amount of subscribers, which is 10, once you have 10 subscribers, you become an artist owner of the company, which means you have stock in the company now. So it allows like the same kind of thing. You can curate content and have more exclusive stuff for people who want to check that out, you know, who want more access. And as opposed to having a tier-based system like Patreon, Ampled has like a, you know, pay as much as you want, $3 minimum. So you can pay $3 a month, and I've been putting up, they got the album for free. I gave them the download before it came out. They've been getting behind the scenes footage, special concerts. Like I did a live stream just for my Ampled followers, solo bass, like electric and upright at the end of the year. I'm going to be doing another one at the end of the month. But you know, just trying to do that. And also for Ampled, they started the selection of the board, and so we're having elections, but there's only 3 people who want to be on the board, and the board number for artists is 3. So it's going to be an uncontested election, but I'm going to be sitting on the board of this platform and trying to like make it more equitable for everybody. And I hope people, you know, subscribe and join. If you don't have to necessarily subscribe to my platform, although I wish you would, but you can become a Ampled community member and still support the idea and the progress of the site, you know? So that's ampled.com/Barry Stephenson.
Nice. Yeah. Ampled.com/Barry Stephenson.
I think it's /Barry. If you go to ampled.com and type in Barry Stephenson, it'll pop up.
He's
one of the things, one of the things, because it's, you know, it is an artist equitable site. They actually post like the artist owners on the front page. So like, and it changes. So like, there's a possibility you can go there and you might see my page on the thing you can click through. But a lot of the exclusive content's behind a paywall because, you know, that's what it's there for. But there's some stuff you can check out that's unlocked. So check it out if you get a moment.
Yeah. I mean, that's, bro, look, that's, go ahead, B. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, man, like hearing you talking about independent artists and then like it seems like networking is the biggest thing, because like being independent, for one of the biggest things is like, how do you get work? How do you make money? Especially in this time. Like, I know my mom asked me the other day, she was like, so what are you jazz musicians doing? What are you guys doing? And it's like, one of the most important things is like, I tell all the time, like, you're still able to network, you're still able to play, you're still able to make some sense of what you know, you put a lot of work in this. You put a lot of time and effort and money. So it's like, the biggest thing is like hearing you talk about that. It gives people a sense of, okay, now I can go ahead and actually develop my artistry. So that's great, man.
Yeah, it was one of those things where sorry, I don't know if you can hear the siren in the back. New York City. You know what I'm saying?
I was waiting for it.
It's New York City. It's like, it is. We uptown too, so like it is what it is. Yeah, man. Just being independent just means a lot to me because it allows me the creative control I want. You know what I mean? And it allows me the flexibility that, you know, some of my friends who have had major art label deals weren't able to have. And it allows me to recoup my money like quicker, you know what I mean? Even if it's not as much as someone else, it's all mine, you know what I mean? And I own the masters, I own the publishing, I own all that stuff. That's mine. It's my music. I get to decide where it goes. And networking plays a role because I noticed early on in my career, like, it wasn't the talent that got me there, which, although I worked hard, you know, and put in the hours to do what I do. I know what I'm capable of. It was really just being in the moment and being cool. Like, and I don't mean cool like, you know, trying to like front, but like, I mean just being a chill person and being able to connect with people on an organic level. That's not about like posturing and trying to like, you know, stunt and be like, oh, I play with this. It's like, no, just not even talking about music, man. Just getting with people and just talking about what they got going on in their life. Like, you know what I mean? And people remember that aspect of interaction with you. And when it comes time to like tour and get things done, like they remember the people who, you know, they get along with. So
That's it.
You know, you call who you know who's on your mind, you make sure you're visible. And then things, you know, you let the universe fall in place and you still take care of business. So when the opportunity comes, you're ready. You know what I mean? Like, being independent is definitely difficult. There's so many things you got to have in place that you don't have a machine behind you doing. So, of course, you got to try and find some help, you know, to delegate certain responsibilities, which, you know, I'm in the process of myself. But it allows you to learn how to do all that stuff. So when you do need to get somebody to do it, you understand what they're doing for you and what kind of weight they're taking off from you. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, it's the networking. I mean, it's such a critical tool. You know, it's all of my success thus far has come from networking and word of mouth and people I know. And like, I mean, Jameson, like I said, Jameson Ross, I went to college with Jameson. He was the best man in my wedding. Like, we recommend each other for all sorts of things and have traveled the world with John Baptiste. Like, you know, funny enough, I met John Baptiste not in New Orleans, but in New York. I was playing at Dizzy's Club Coca-Cola in 2013 with my friend Chris Pattershaw and Alfonso Horn. Chris plays piano, Alfonso trumpet player. We all went to Florida State. It was me, Ricardo Pascal, Jameson, Fonzo, and Chris. And then we were doing the late set for the week. And Ibande Ruambika, this tuba player who played with Stay Human, he was playing with Wyclef Gordon doing a Louis Armstrong tribute, the early set. And he was like, John, yo, you should come check out this band. And, you know, John, you know, he has his ears to the ground always. And he knew of Jameson. I think he had heard through some people in New Orleans about me or whatever. Yeah. So he came out, and at the end, we just played some New Orleans. We played like Big Chief and like Mardi Gras in New Orleans. Yeah. And after that, you know, his manager at the time was like, hey, we got this tour in Europe in the summer. Can you go? I'm like, yes. Yes, I can. And it's just like, you know, that opened up the door for so many things. So I'm always like extremely grateful to John for bringing me along into the Stay Human family and, you know, always looking out and, you know, opening the doors for so many other things down the line. And it's just networking, like I said, like the network is being in the right place and just being cool. Like, I mean, cool in the sense of just being calm, collected, you know, respectful, yourself, like not trying to, you know, like just being there and like just talking to people on an organic level, not trying to get something out of them, not trying, you know what I mean? Like,
for me? How can I get
that kind of energy you can spot from a mile away, and it's so disingenuous and it's vile, you know, you don't want to be around that.
Like, oh, okay, all right, I'll see you later.
And you know, that's not to say that those people aren't successful. Also, like, there's a whole contingency of people with that kind of energy who do well, and you know, that's fine. Like, there's enough space for everyone, and I think it's important to remember that, like, no matter what you're doing and no matter what anyone else is doing, there's room for your thing, you know. David Baker taught me that. Rest his soul.
I know. I think that's the biggest thing, man. I think, like, when people look at the music community, they're like, oh man, that's really cool to be a part of. And it's like, you look back at it, you're like, yeah, it's like a family almost, man. It's like,
definitely.
You definitely have like cousins. Like, I think like we're all like cousins and everything. Like, some of us might be distant cousins, some of us might be first, second, third cousins.
Yeah, the music community is so small in its reach. Like, you're really 3 degrees removed from like Shaka Khan in certain circles. You're like, oh snap! Like, so many things. In New Orleans, I was like, you know, 6 degrees away from Louis Armstrong. You know what I mean? So you and me, somebody was like, oh yeah, like my grandfather played with Louis Armstrong, and like would tell me, like, you'd hear that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So you know, this community that we build is not just in our own particular city. It's everywhere. It's Dallas, it's St. Louis, it's LA, it's Atlanta, it's Seattle, you know, San Francisco, it's Chicago, it's Austin, it's New Orleans, it's New York, it's Miami. It's like everywhere. There's pockets. It's shoot, Milwaukee. You got a pocket everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like so it's DC. Like the list goes on. I'm not trying to leave anybody off, but you know what I'm saying? Like there's so many scenes around the country. And then you add the world in, man. Like you go to Europe and Paris and London and you know, just different scenes, and like so much to be appreciated. It's like you just be chill when you go meet people and like connect with them, or I mean get their number, reach out, but be like, you know, genuine about it. You know, I think that's an important thing. And let what comes to you come to you, and if it doesn't, you know,
it is what it is.
You had fun. It was a fun ride. You know, you got to do what you love. And speaking of what your mom said about like what are y'all doing, like pre-pandemic, I had always had a studio set up, but I never really had the time to get involved and really learn how to do it and like tweak my like what I was doing with production. So months before like in 2019, at the end of that, I was getting set up. I had my monitors and everything, and I was getting set up just so I can do remote recording. And then it turned out that became the thing. You had to do remote recording. So it was just such a serendipitous kind of thing that I was getting set up for what would become our reality. And I think that's what a lot of musicians are doing, is like what we should have been doing. We should have all had, you know, like home recording setups, however meager, just to be able to get an idea down or to do demo work, or God forbid you get some recording work. Hey, the little one.
Oh, she woke up.
Hey, you want to say hey to everybody?
Hello. She's like, man, I'm not trying to deal with these people right now.
Hey, that's it.
What's her name?
Where's my milk?
Her name is Truly.
Hey, Truly.
Smith. Hey, baby. She said, you said it wasn't gonna be that long, Dad.
Let me know when y'all gotta go, man. I'm here, but whatever you gotta do, you know.
Well, I at least wanted to say one thing. I had one question before we left this. Are you, I mean, I know there aren't any touring going on right now, but are you like yourself personally, even if you like got the call to go like to fly somewhere, are you like just taking it upon yourself not to do those kind of things and just kind of keep it local? Or, you know, are you kind of just like down for whatever's happening? Man,
well, honestly, like we stayed, so I'm from Florida, and every year my wife and I, and you know, we always go, even when we were living in New Orleans, we go to Tampa for Noche Buena, which is when Latin people celebrate Christmas. And then we would go to South Florida to spend Christmas Day with my family, Christmas morning. And when we would, you know, obviously this year with the case of the outbreak in general, but especially in Florida, like we decided not to do that this year.
Yeah. And
so I considered doing the most local I was willing to go out in the beginning of December was Philly. Okay. And that's because I was going to be getting a ride out there, but then that got canceled because there was an outbreak that happened in Philly. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it just, you know, it was going with what's happening. I'm waiting around for it to be a little safer. You know, I'm fortunate my wife is able to work and like from home. So like we struggled like everybody else, but we've been cool, you know, all things considered, especially when the unemployment is coming through. If that's not coming through, it's like, come on, y'all, stop fucking around. Like,
right.
I mean, excuse me.
No, it's okay.
I know you got headphones on, so, but you know, it's definitely a different kind of thing that we're in, but I hope everybody's like, you know, sharpening their tool set and like dealing with different aspects of, you know, and figuring out other things besides music, like something that I had already started before the pandemic that made more sense during the pandemic is like getting your retirement together, like getting a Roth IRA, getting like doing that. I'm not saying like, especially while you're young, like now's the time to think about long-term investment. And like, you know, we have kids, like I got life insurance. It's only just like $20 a month, bro. Yeah. $20. I was like, what? Catch up, man. And the thing is, like, this is what our counterparts are doing. They know this system. They game in this system. That's why when they get to be 60, 70, they retiring. Yeah. They're not worrying about funeral costs. They're not asking auntie and uncles to like, you know, they're not figuring out what's gonna happen with the house because Big Mom died. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like stuff that we don't learn in our communities, not for lack of interest, but because we got so much going on just trying to survive. Like, and they've historically not made that information available. And now we've been equipping ourselves with the right tools to gain access to this knowledge. And you know, I'm very fortunate to, you know, Eric Wheeler hooked me up with this cat, James Byers, man. He's a brother in North Carolina, just great financial planner, and he's a drummer too. But he you know, he went to high school with Corcoran and Eric Corcoran Holt, who played with Kenny Garrett and Eric Wheeler. You know, like and so I'm like, okay, cool, like. Right there, like I trust these cats. I know and they were working with him. Like I'm not gonna. I don't know if I should. You might want to edit all this part.
Yeah, I will.
But basically the main point is like getting like just finances together. You know what I mean? Like as a musician, like that's the thing. Like we have our money and we're making this money, and when you really account for it at the end of the year, like dang, it's not like I didn't make a good amount of money, but I don't see most of it. It's towards rent. So it's like, how can we make that money make money for us and be getting things like royalties in check and like dealing with the business behind the music, you know what I mean? Not just the notes, like getting, like I've had an LLC for 5 years, going on 6 years now. So like having your business and stuff like that set up. So when it comes time, they're asking for like, oh, well, you have to show a proof of business and all this. You already set up. You're not trying to register those papers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Man, I'm glad we got to that point. I mean, we got to this point in the interview where we're talking about like kind of, as they say, breaking those some generational, you know, curses of just not knowing. And I mean,
and also it being a secretive thing, like between the community, like people not talking about finances. Like,
man, look, I remember.
Why are we not talking about finances? And people talking about finances in the CEO and the tops of buildings, figuring out how they gonna take our finances and finance their stuff. Why are we not talking about finances?
Man, I remember when I first started, like doing taxes as a musician, and so I was trying to call some of the older cats, figure out like, and it was just like a kind of like I don't know if it's just like didn't know, or it's just kind of like, yeah, man, you gotta take care of it. You know, it's like sometimes with us, it's like, you know, it's not a bad thing to not know. It's not a bad thing to ask questions about something, and that's the only way, you know, you're gonna get an answer. You know, it's like knocking to be open, but if you don't knock, how you gonna expect for things to be open to you? So you know, it's like I'm glad we're talking about things like that, because people, you know, who may have, you know, wondered about how do I set up retirement, how do I go about it as a musician. Now they, you know, they'll be able to know it through just like the dialogue and how do I do this, and you know, it's beautiful, man. I'm really glad we got a chance to talk about that, because that's just as important as it is talking about the album and music and things like that, you know.
Of course, that's what sets up the album, because it's like, you know, you got to think long term. Like, what is like the album right now? I'm not thinking of like, how can I make money off the album in 2020 when it came out? I'm thinking like, how do I make money off the album in 2030? You know, so that was some, you know, some game that was given to me by, you know, a good friend of mine, and I was like, dang, that's an approach to like how to really deal with this. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, it's a long game, man. In our position, it's a long game. Like we got to figure out multiple streams of income from like the recording music, assignment as leaders, doing gigs, during remote recording sessions, like live streams, the whole thing, man. Like, you know, getting different subscription services, doing master classes online, like everything, like whatever you can do, figure out how you can do it and how you can get it done, and like do your thing in it, because like there's space in the market. Like all this stuff you say you hate about things you watch, don't do those things and make your own and prove it wrong that you can do it. You know what I'm saying? Like take all that. Like that's what kind of the album was to me too. Like all the things that you complain about that you don't like in music, don't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't do that. And then
Stuff that, yeah, like when you sitting there thinking to yourself while you're listening to something, like, man, I wouldn't have done that. Don't do it.
Yeah, that's like a thing Greg Osby said. He said before, he's like, yeah, you learn from people that you don't like what not to do.
Yeah, of course. Like, I learn from everybody, bro.
Yeah, he said
people I like, people I don't. Yeah,
know?
Everybody.
You know, I mean, like there are certain musicians that like, I gotta say names, but like that people say are like, oh, they're just commercial. It's like, but there's something they're doing right to get that kind of success, and it's like, what I ask myself often, like, well, what is it I can add? You know. I always say, you know, and then if is that a virtue that I want to add? You know, if that's something that I think is important, okay, yes. But if it's something I think will take away from the art and the music, then it's like, okay, well, you know, we are in the space for it.
Yeah, I think people miss the point of when they say somebody's commercial and what they don't like about it. They miss the fact that, A, this person has a sound that is readily identifiable when you hear it.
Yeah.
And you can say you don't like it, but this person crafted a sound that when you hear it, you're like, that's the person.
Yeah.
Second, their music connects with people. So whatever you don't like about it, they connect with people, which is we're entertainers at the end of the day. Like, people can get all frou-frou and be like, I'm an artiste, and that's fine. Like, we are, but like we make music for people. If you didn't, you would just like create it and never release it, but you release it in hopes that people listen to it, be entertained. You know, like, that's something I learned in New Orleans, is never like get your entertainment skills together. Like, we're in the industry of entertainment, like the entertainment industry, as they call it. And so
that's it.
You know, like, having like all of these things together aids so much in like your just journey through this thing. You know what I mean? Like, I forgot what I was talking about for a second. What were you just saying? You got it. It's out.
No. It's okay. We were just that's a good. We were just talking about, you know, entertainers and you know, they have.
And like, so like connecting with people, man. Like, connecting with people is key. Like, when you connect with people, I think that's what they really feel what your music is, and that's something I learned from whenever I would do gigs. Is people would tell me how much like they're like, you're really into what you're doing. You know, people come up to you after the gig and you're tired and you're all be on a, you be in a vibe in your mind, but you try not to vibe people out.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, oh, that was really, you guys really look like you love what you're doing. And you're like, we do. And it's like, and then you step back for a moment and you're like, wait, I was able to convey an emotion to this person of joy, sorrow, of complete belief in what I was doing, and that transmitted to them and made them feel something. That is literally the goal of what we're doing with our sound. And so if I can figure out how I want to do that and cultivate a sound that's mine, commercial is just another word for people like it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And a lot of people like it. So anybody who tells you they don't, if suddenly a bunch of people like their music, they would be like, nah, is a liar.
Yeah.
They are. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care what they say. Like, everybody would love for a bunch of people to hear their music.
Yeah.
It gives them a chance to hear their voice, their conception, what they believe, and like everything. So it's like, come on, get out of here with that.
Well, I mean, Barry, I really appreciate, you taking out the time. B, you want to add anything to it? I mean, it's funny, this is the quietest Bernard is in life. I mean, he interjected a little, but I think it's so many gems. It's like like knowledge. Go ahead, bro. You got.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's talk about healthcare real quick. Now, I'm joking.
You gotta get in a state where your government ain't where your government actually gets it together.
No, man, bro, Barry, I appreciate you for doing this, man. It's like, it's really good, man, when we can like sit here and we can just talk, and people get like a better understanding of like, oh, okay, now I know how to do things better. Like, I tell folks all the time, you might not play music, but you do like music. Music is just a form of art, but it's also a form of expression. It's also a form of lessons that you can learn from what you hear. So this is really good, man. I hope people take this and they're like, okay, I can work my business better. I can get my life better. I can work things better. So I appreciate you, man.
Man, I appreciate you, for having me, all the kind words and checking out my music. And, you know, you always look out, and I always got you whenever things open back up and you're in New York. You know how it is. But
Yeah, man.
it was a pleasure to be here for your show and to talk with y'all brothers. Y'all doing positive things, man. And I can't wait to hear it. And I hope people go check out the music. You know, I'm on Instagram, Pocket B, you know, Twitter, Barry's Pocket, the whole vibe. Yes, get a minute and get on Ample if you know. It's a vibe over there. It's rocking. And check out the 100 Baseline Challenge when you get a minute.
Yeah.
Dang, all right.
Because God only knows when this is airing. I don't know, but we got 100 days. I hope it'll be in the next couple of months. So you got some time.
No, it'll be soon.
Nah, he'll probably be next week. He'll probably be this week.
I'm messing with you. I'm just messy, man.
All right, thank you so much, Barry. So once again, Barry, I thank you so much for giving such an informative interview. I mean, he really talked about a lot of things that's important for the music business today, and you know, being involved.
Drop a lot of gems.
Yeah, good stuff. Definitely an interview to keep going back to, you know, drawing from. All right, so we've talked about jazz.
Yeah.
Full off juice. It's about now it's time to do some jamming. We all hope you enjoyed this tune we're going to do. It's actually one of Barry's tunes.
Dang.
Yeah, so hopefully we do it justice. You know, Barry. So this one is called Evening Breezy, One in the Air. Hope y'all enjoy.
Off the album.
thank y'all so much for tuning in and supporting this episode. I had a good time.
It was a great time, man.
I had a really good time.
It was a bass episode. It wasn't supposed to be. But it turned into just bass players rule the world, man.
It was a pretty basic episode.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
But it's not a bassy episode.
Oh boy. Okay. Man, thank you so much for doing this, B. I always appreciate it.
Anytime,
It's good times. I want to thank illustrious cameraman back there, my brother Jeremy Smith, for doing this thing back there. We're gonna
go.
Give him a shot.
Yeah.
King. And before I go, I do want to say to you all, please stay and be safe. And I want to also mention that this is Black History Month. This is February, and this is a good time to not only just every month should be about Black History and about what knowing what we're doing, but specifically this month, pick up a book or maybe look for something you didn't know. It doesn't have to be musical. Just invest in the culture and sometimes that knowledge that we gain will kind of help us as things come up, in the future. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say nothing.
Yeah, I know. Black cat, black dog. You know what I'm saying?
Turn them out the mix real quick.
Okay. Man, this feels good, man.
Yeah,
It feels good. Thank y'all so much. On that note, we're gonna be done.
I'm gonna start clowning.
See y'all on the next one. Thank you.
I'm feeling inspired because today is the first day of Black History Month.
Thank you, Alexa. Even Alexa knows. So that's what I'm gonna get, man. God dang. So if you want to support what we do,
Oh, please keep that. Please keep that. Please keep that.